What's up YouTube, Dell here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you an update to Pure Fire Kings. That's right, involving the brand new Fire King Volcanics, which really does make a massive difference to this deck in general, no matter what version you are playing. Now I've also kept budget in mind, which is why you will not see any of the crazy expensive cards, for the pure fact that this card is not actually that expensive. So they're currently at pre-order price, so the day of recording this video, about £13 a copy, and I do expect that once the set is open, because everyone is chasing the new Mulch Army, this will dip to about £10 a copy, which to me is an absolute no-brainer to be picking it up. Whether you want to be playing the Tri-Brigade version, the Pure version, or even the Asmina version, it really is up to you, with of course Snake Eyes. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe. If you get the video above 50 likes in the first 24 hours, I will bring you a dedicated combo video, and I will also bring you a Tri-Brigade version update as well. So with that out of the way, we're going to dive headfirst into the profile, show you what we've got, and explain why we've got it. So you start off with 3 of the brand new Fire King Volcanics. Now, a lot of people ask, why does this card make this deck so good? Well, the fact of the matter is that this card's been around in Master Duel for a while now, so people have already had a chance to play with it. So this one is on normal or special. You get to destroy another fire monster in your hand or face up in the field, and if you do, you add a fire beast, beast warrior, or winged beast monster from the deck to the hand except itself, and then you can make this card's level become the added monsters. If this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you get to special summon a Fire King High Avatar Garunix, so the original Garunix, from your deck in defense. You can only use each effect once per turn. Now, the reason that is so good is that ideally what you're going to be doing for one of your baseline combos is you normal summon the Volcanics, destroy another fire monster in the hand. That will then allow you to search out a Ponix, and quite like how the Garunix works, the Ponix will summon on the new chain. So then you'll get Ponix, so you're basically having 6 routes to Ponix in this version. This will then get you the Sanctuary, which can then get you Fire King Island. Fire King Island can then destroy the Volcanics. In doing so, this will then allow you to trigger Volcanics and of course search out a Garunix, so that just from your Volcanics plus a fire monster, you're able to get the 2 Garunixes on the board, plus your Ponix, plus your Island, plus the Sanctuary, 3 more cards in hand, and that's not where the combo ends. You still have so many more plays from there, because you can destroy a Vata can revive the Volcanics, and you go and you go and you go and you go, and that's what you're going to be seeing in a dedicated combo video. Then, of course, we are still playing triple Fire King Ponix. Now, obviously, the whole idea behind playing Ponix is you just want as much access and as much consistency to get to it as humanly possible in this deck. Now, of course, if you are going to be playing the Snake Eyes version, you do get to also play the original Sinful Spoils on top of that. So you're just going to be able to get a lot more consistency to do it, but not everyone wants to be going out of their way and going out to spend a huge amount of money on the Snake Eyes engine. So you want to be able to find ways of upgrading the original structure deck and then still be able to compete. And that's exactly what this deck can do with the brand new Volcanics. The next one that we're going to be moving on to is, of course, another insanely powerful card for the deck, and that, of course, is triple High Avatar Kirin. So triple High Avatar Kirin, again, is just another one of your disruptors, it's another one of your extenders, it's another one of your boss monsters. It pretty much ticks all of the boxes you could possibly need. And again, you'll see more so in the combo how you go through this card, how you get to this card very easily. Because obviously the idea is that if you hard open up something like Barong, you're going to be able to search this out during your opponent's turn, during their standby phase to be specific. And then you've got ways of being able to trigger stuff like Princess in the graveyard, you've got ways of being able to pop your Volcanics, you've got ways of being able to pop your Amber Whale, which will then of course trigger another effect to bring back an IP. You just have so much more going for you, it's absolutely insane. Then, of course, we do play 2 of the Sacred Fire King Garunix. Some people do play 3. It's completely up to you. I quite like the option of playing 2 of the new one and 1 of the original. Now, of course, the reason that you're playing the original now is because Volcanics gets it from the deck. It kind of has that same treatment that Dark World's got, where a lot of the cards, or more of the new cards, want to utilize the original versions of the cards, which is a bit of a downside. But then I do also see that if it did allow you to get access to the newer cards, it would probably be a little bit more broken. Still, being able to get the original High Avatar Garunix into rotation is not that bad, because for those of you that are not familiar with it, is during the next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by card effect and sent to the graveyard, you special summon it. Unfortunately, you are then forced to destroy all other monsters on the field. But the best thing about that is when you do that, it does kind of put an interruption on the board that your opponent's like, okay, I've got to get rid of this card or it's going to come back and nuke my board. More times than not, what you can do is you can use it as link fodder, you'll be using it as overlay materials. You do have a lot of flexibility, so you don't need to trigger that effect, but it does give you that option so that you are aware of it and you can really catch your opponent off guard. Then moving on to the smaller like avatars, we do play one Avatar, one Barong, and we now are playing the one Ragbali. Now, I know some people used to play Ragbali in the previous version. Again, completely fine. It's just one of them cards that I feel has got better now with the Volcanics, because you do have ways of being able to get this to the hand, and because you're using Volcanics to destroy fire monsters a lot more consistently when it is normal or specialed, which you do during your opponent's turn as well. It's just more ways of being able to get these cards to the hand, more so the new one in Ragbali, and then trigger its effect in the hand, quite like the Garunix and quite like the Ponix, to summon itself down. And that's what you're going to be doing more times than not in the pure version than any other version, but they still get utilized in all of those ways possible. Now, of course, if you did want to play the Tri Brigade version, the best thing about Volcanics is it can actually search you out some of your Tri Brigade monsters, mainly your Fractal, and then of course you just go full combo off of the back of that anyway. But the idea is you still want to be going for your Fire King cards in order to get Ponix into rotation and everything else in between, but it gives you that ability to shift strategies to go down that route if you want to. Moving on to the spells, of course, we are still playing triple Fire Sanctuary because we want to be able to get to our Fire King Island. And if you do hard open up the Sanctuary, then what you do get the ability for is you do get to go and search a Skyburn off of the back of your Ponix. Now, one card that I am missing that you could highly consider putting into the main deck now is Circle. The reason I've not got Circle in here is I wanted to trial out the brand new Firestorm over Atlantis. Now, unfortunately, you can't search this the way that you can do with your other Fire King cards. But what I quite liked about this is it gives you the ability to activate one of the effects. Now, I'm going to ignore the first one because it's all about destroying water monsters, which this deck just doesn't play, unless you want to main deck the Spooky Dogwood, which would be quite an interesting way to go about it. But this one is you destroy a fire monster in your hand and then you get to draw one card. And if only your opponent controls a monster, you get to banish this card from the grave to target a level 7 or 8 water or fire monster in your graveyard and special summon it. Now, obviously, the idea is you're basically just going to have that way to be able to pop a card in the hand and then draw a card. Now, it's not something you absolutely have to play. It's something that I wanted to trial out as it is a new card in the deck. I would have preferred it to be a Fire King card so that it was very easily searchable in this deck as well. I would have liked it to have been something like Fire King's Storm over Atlantis, and then obviously it would be searchable via this, and then maybe it would be searchable via the Mermail cards. I'm not too sure what their exact text of searching is, but the idea is I just quite like the idea of being able to pop a card, draw a card, and then when I'm popping cards, I'm able to kind of trigger their effects, mainly Volcanics. It's something to trial out. It's not something that absolutely has to be mandatory in this. Like, this list is a 41 card list, so you can very easily take out the Firestorms over Atlantis. That's where your Circle goes in, and straight away you're at a 40 card list. The last spell we play is 1 for 1. Well, I say last spell, the last spell that isn't like a hand trap / board breaker. Moving on to the hand traps. Now, this is where the benefit of the pure version comes into play. But, however, you do play loads of hand traps that you will shortly see. But the idea is that in these hand traps, you can either cut the count down, and then that's when you can play more board breakers. You can cut the count down. You can play the Nadir package. You can play the Tri Brigade package, the Snake Eyes package. You name it. You have a lot more flexibility after this point. But like I said, I wanted this to be a pure version. And in a pure version, you still want to be able to play hand traps, as that is how you're going to be able to compete at its max potential with this particular type of list. So, of course, for the hand traps, you've gone with triple Ash Blossom, pretty standard fire monster, you get benefits off the back of it. And now I'm just going to show you a couple of 2-ofs that you can kind of see the range that you can play. One card that I'd want to be playing in here is either Effect Veiler or Ghost Mourner, but again, that really comes down to the environment you're taking to and which hand traps are going to be more effective for you. But I've decided to go with Ghost Ogre. I think more people will start to expect it, but I feel at this moment in time, a lot of people don't expect it. So dropping a Ghost Ogre on your opponent can make you go, oh, damn, yeah, that's still a thing. And you kind of miss it out completely. Pretty much the same as the next card that I'm going to show you, which is Ghost Bell. Again, it's another one of these hand traps that I feel was dipped out of the format, but it might just come back into the format, especially when you're looking at cards like the Asmina card, you're looking at cards like the like Fiendsmith Requiem and everything else. So you want to be able to try and play hard counters to it. Now, the one thing you don't really worry too much about in this deck is if you're going to get hit with a Bestial. You can play the Bestials yourself if you want to, but again, that's where the variety of hand traps comes into play. Another one that I'm a main in, but you can very easily side, is of course Droll and Lockbird. Again, this is just one of them ones where if your opponent expects it more in the side, the exact same with Nibiru, then they'll probably run into it a little bit earlier game 1. Now, Nibiru is one of them ones where you're probably better off having it in the side, because if you go into an environment where most people are playing Yubel, they're going to be able to set up Nibiru protection early doors. However, that being said, Nibiru comboed off with pretty much other hand traps that can really damage your opponent can still lead you to game. Like, Nibiru plus Imperm is damaging. And what I mean by that is you'd go Imperm on the Phantom, and then you go Nibiru, and they're like, oh, crap, yeah, that's still a thing. Speaking of, we play triple Imperm. We are playing Call by the Grave, and again, because you're playing such a big range of hand traps, if you wanted to, you could very easily play Cross Out. And the last 2 cards I'm playing is Book of Eclipse, which is basically just a cheaper budget option to Forbidden Droplet. If you have access to Forbidden Droplet, I'd highly advise you putting it in here, as it does give you that way to be able to break boards and deal with it, which is exactly what I'm using Book of Eclipse for. So it is entirely up to you. You could if you really want to consider the Dominus Impulse. In doing so, you do need to remember that it locks you out of, I believe, Wind, Earth, and Light. So it means you would trade them in for stuff like Nibiru's, Veilers, and then you'd need to make sure that your extra is fire focused. But again, that doesn't really fit your budget because they're like £25 to £30 a copy. Whereas everything else in this deck, apart from the Volcanics, I would highly say is less than £10 per copy, which is really, really nice, especially with the structure deck, the Blue Eye structure deck already confirmed for New Year, and the hand traps in that are just very, very good. Moving on to the extra deck, of course, we are playing the one Garunix Eternity. You don't have to be playing any of the rank 8s that I'm about to show you, being the Hope Harbinger, but I do advise you to actually play Dingirsu. I honestly don't have a copy on me at this exact moment in time. I'm still away for work, but the idea is that if you do get hold of Ding, I would put that in here. I'd probably put it in over the Hope Harbinger, but I just like the fact that Ding has that non-target send and has that destruction protection, which can be near invaluable, but the extra is entirely flexible up to your personal preference and playstyle. We do have the one Salamangreat Almirage. Now, honestly, you don't really need to be relying on this. This is just one of them ones that if you need to be able to pop a fire monster and you don't open up a fire monster, but you open up your hand traps because you are playing so many, you can normally summon a hand trap, turn it into an Almirage, and there's your fire monster for your Fire King Island. It's a very specific scenario, but this is where Dingirsu can very easily come in its place. And then, of course, you've got the Relinquish Anima. Turn your Ponix into this. Happy days. Don't need to rely on it as much now because, of course, we do have the Volcanics, but you're just trying to make sure you've got that variety and those options in the extra deck. Hita, the Fire Charmer, followed up by Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf and IP Masquerena. Of course, I'm still playing Moon of the Closed Heavens to get into your Underworld Goddess of the Closed Worlds. Again, you don't have to play it this way. I just quite like it because I think it's one of them cards that if your opponent forgets about it, if your opponent sleeps on it, it can be massively damaging. Because you're able to flood your board with loads of monsters very easily, just being able to go into Moon of the Closed Heavens and then go, oh, cool, effect, target, it's straight away going to force your opponent to negate it. And if they can't negate it, you're just going to, cool, target, link with that monster, link with another monster, which is like a semi-towers. And then I'm going to be able to get into the Underworld Goddess itself. And that's just a very nice boss monster to have on the board as an alternative option and at a very cheap and easy budget. And then, of course, we've got Nightmare Phoenix, followed up by Nightmare Unicorn as your budget option to SP Little Knight. And then we do have the Promethean Princess. Now, yes, this might be the most expensive card in the extra deck, but it is due a guaranteed reprint in the Bonanza set, which is coming out in November. So it will be a lot cheaper. It's just one of the cards that I feel is so insane for fire decks that it's a little bit crazy not to consider it and not to play it if you do have access to it. If you don't have access to it, then you change a couple of cards in the extra deck, mainly your Amber Whale. But then that's when you can kind of adapt it to your what you've got access to, your personal play style, and that's when you're probably going to be looking a little bit more at the rank 8 version or just more generic link monsters as well. For the last two cards I'm playing, of course, is the one Access Code Talker, and obviously most of them are going to be fire from the extra deck, but you do have those options to get into Darks as well, so that can give you a nice little boss monster to clear cards off. And the last one I'm playing, just for pure funniness, is Topologic Zero Boros. Now, the reason I've got this is, again, because of a card like Kirin, you have so many ways of being able to trigger this yourself, and when you trigger it, it's just one of them insane boss monsters that, again, people just forget it even exists, and when you summon it, I almost guarantee, unless your opponent knows about this card, they'll be picking up, reading it, and going, what? And they're like, oh, okay, right, I ain't got to worry about that. And you go, yeah, cool, whatever. And then during your turn, you go, Kirin, pop, summon Kirin to a zone it points to, effect, banish the board. And they're like, oh, damn, it does that. So again, it's something you don't have to play. Like, you can very easily go for something like Azalantis. You can very easily, if you have access to it, go for the Phoenix, the Salamangreat Raging Phoenix. It really is up to you. I just quite like adding these little spicy cards that not a lot of people are going to expect in the decks, especially when you're staying around a budget. But these cards I'm putting in are my personal text that I'm adding in. So when it comes to you building this deck or using this list, you change that for personal lists and personal text that you want to try. So keep that in mind. It's just a card that I'm like, hey, look, do you know of this card? And if you're like, yeah, I know that card, I don't like it, I'm not going to put it in there, by all means do so. But if you're like, whoa, I never even knew a card like that existed, what the hell is it? Let me Google it, let me find out how much it costs. Oh wow, it's really cheap. I'm going to pick that up just to play around with it and then troll people at locals because they don't expect it. And that is pretty much it for your budget Fire King build. Like I said, the only thing you need to do is be a little bit patient on the Volcanics. I think once the restocks start happening, which today is Tuesday of recording this video, OTS stores get to get their boxes and packs and everything tomorrow, which is the Wednesday. And then there'll be restocks on stuff like Tier 0, where you'll be able to pick these up a little bit cheaper as well. And I do expect they'll hit like £8 to £10 a copy, which is absolutely beautiful. And then that's when I'd be swiping in to grab your free and then go from there. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Like I said at the start of the video, you get the video above 50 likes in the first 24 hours. I will bring you a Tri-Brigade update, and of course I'll also bring you a dedicated combo guide for the deck as well, so you can see how easy it is to go from 1, 2, 3 Fire King combo. It's absolutely insane. I love it, and I do love the fact that we now have Volcanics, and I can't wait to see how this deck performs in the upcoming game. I know it's not going to be toppling the meta, but it would be really nice to see Fire Kings come back around and kind of do well, because I feel that it is the more, or if not most recent budget structure deck that we've been able to get access to, following in the footsteps of stuff like Salamangreats as well. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.